NewGenGamers.com.
However, you play something like Mad Dog McCree on it, and it ends up being mostly full screen. So, I don't know if maybe it was just the trouble with the coding that Digital Pictures is having issues with, or the fact that Mad Dog McCree was just a smaller game, maybe.
Or maybe the developers just fail.
Well, that does say something about Digital Pictures. Project Nemo was actually being designed by Hasbro, who initially were going to use it as like a VCR type game. The first project they ended up working on was a game called Scene of the Crime, which later became the infamous Night Trap. We'll get back to that and more of that later because we are going to be playing Night Trap.
Woo, Night Trap! I don't want to be Gator Mate!
Well, that's okay, you're dog meat.
Now, folks, I won't make it very far in this. I'm not going to lie to you. I fail at this game.
Well, it's just quick. It's pretty much just timing. It's all timing.
I still haven't figured out how to turn. Like, I'll hit the D-pad, and it won't do anything for me.
I don't believe that's a failure on your part. Tom Zito was actually known for a lot of these games. A lot of these games. There was the whole Make My Video series. Actually, about half of the Sega CD's launch lineup were made up of FMV games. Now, granted, they did kind of offer a new take on gaming, but they weren't exactly the greatest games in the world.
Agreed.
The Sega CD ended up launching in North America in 1992, October 15, and it launched with this game, Night Trap, were available same day. Make My Video, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Make My Video NXS. Oh yeah, Marky Mark was a launch title.
Nice.
Chuck Rock, Cobra Command, Black Hole Assault. So pretty much most of the retail shelf during that first Christmas was these games. They also packed in a sampler disc, a 4-in-1 Sega pack, Sherlock Holmes, and Soul Feast. Now, that was for the initial $300 price tag.
Now, when you say pack-in discs, you're talking this came with the console, right?
Yeah, that actually came with the console.
So you got this home and you had, like, how many games you could play right off the bat?
One real game.
So the rest of them were fake games?
They weren't fake games, they were, well, okay, 5 if you count the Genesis games on the 4-in-1 pack.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I understand now.
Well, Sherlock Holmes was a game. It was more of like a text-based, Carmen Sandiego type game.
Ah, I see.
And then Rock Paintings and Hard Hits was, well, pretty much like a CD graphics thing. Press start. Now, it did do a...
Let's find out indeed.
It did do pretty well in its initial release. It did about 50,000 by Thanksgiving and about 200,000 by the end of the year. That's in the U.S. Across the pond, it was a little bit more pricey. It was 270 pounds, which is about 400 bucks over here. It did 60 to 70,000, but it was launched in August of '93. It was launched in '93. Trying to find the initial date here, but It sold those by August 93. So they were getting something going in the UK. Japan, not so much. See, the Mega Drive over there wasn't as successful as the Super Nintendo. Whereas the Genesis was really big in the US, so this kind of had more of an initial backing, I guess, because of that underground feel. You know how you always have that hardcore console out there?
That all the underground folk like.
Yes.
Because it's tasty.
Now, I want to kind of get into some specifications here. We'll get into what the system was really capable of.
Alrighty. Getting us some stats.
Now, its processor was a 12.5 megahertz Motorola 1600 16-bit. It syncs with the Genesis 6800. So it had two 6800 chips. Unfortunately, it only came with stock Genesis audio, 16-bit, 8-channel PCM, 8-time oversampling at 32 kilohertz. It also had enhanced PCM and DAC capabilities. The graphics processor, it was a custom ASIC that was able to do a bit more scaling, rotation, and zoom. Kind of made it like a Mode 7 chip.
Right.
It had a 128 color palette with hold and modify techniques. It also had a 256 color palette for FMV sequences. So now that's another reason why it looks so grainy and kind of washed out, is it could only do 256 colors, so it couldn't quite pick up the detail that you would get with, real video.
Is that also why it looks like it's cel shaded?
Kinda, yeah.
Partially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though cel shading,
putting down now.
even though cel shading wasn't really a big thing, it couldn't be done back then. I don't believe.
Right. Well, I believe it could. You just needed the right software.
Now it had decent memory capacity. It's 768K of RAM on board, and that added to the stock Genesis memory, so it doubled it. It had 128K of RAM dedicated to the CD-ROM, and it had 64K of backup RAM, so you could save some of your games directly to the console. They also released a backup cartridge in which you could do that, but that didn't get released until a little bit later. Yeah, the major drawback was the color palette. I mean, it really doesn't help full motion video when you only have 256 colors to go with it.
Yeah,
if you want a good real-world example of that, see if you can go onto your PC and change the color specifications. Set that to 256 and see what your icons look like.
I believe that's a fair point.
The idea was that this could compete with the SNES kind of on equal footing, but the SNES ended up having a few more tricks up its sleeve. Now, granted, it couldn't do full motion video, but it still had some pretty good graphical things hidden within it.
I think it was just about Nintendo putting out massive, artwork capabilities.
Yeah, where the Super Nintendo could do quite a few more colors.
Boom! Alright, I think that's the last of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're gonna call it on Sewer Shark here, and we'll be right back.
Yeah. Feel it, baby. Yo! What are you doing? Pick up the pace. Get busy. Do it. Yeah. Hey.
Is anybody out there?
That's tight. Word.
UJGamers.com.